time, because this is the first time I've ever been in a college class on time. My name is Skyler Johnston. I'm the Executive Director for the Greene County Democrats, and thank you so much for having me today. It's fun. This is the first time I've had a chance to speak in front of a college class, so please be gentle. So kind of give you some background about me. I graduated from Alton, Missouri High School, which is in the south central part of Missouri, about 2.5 hours southeast of here. After I graduated high school, I ran as fast as I could to the University of Missouri in Columbia because they had establishments that stayed open past dark, and I wanted to experience that. And Alton did not have anything that stayed open past dark. So there I earned a degree in history with a minor in political science. And after that, it was kind of off to the races. I was a campaign gypsy for a long time, traveling from state to state, working on various issues. So to date, I've worked on 23 election cycles in the last 10 years. So it's been interesting. And luckily, I have a fantastic wife who understands the business and hasn't divorced me yet because I'm always gone. I got my first real big boy job, the one that lasted more than a few weeks or a few months, with AFSCME, which is the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. They're a public employees union, and what I did for them is I was kind of a firefighter. Anytime there was a hot spot that flared up politically, I was dropped in. I was based out of Colorado, but in the 2 years that I did that job, I was actually only at home for probably 3 months. Again, very understanding wife. The longest deployment I ever had was Wisconsin. I got a call actually 5 years ago today. Yeah, 5 years ago today, saying that Scott Walker in Wisconsin had lost his mind and was going to get rid of collective bargaining for all public employees in the state. And they said, packed for about 4 days, you'll be there just throughout the week, you'll leave on Friday. 126 days later, I left. It shows you the power of a determined legislature to extend something like that. What happened was the Senate Democrats at the time were compelled to come to the Senate chambers and vote on what was called the budget repair bill. And it would at an emergency level, remove collective bargaining from state and public employees. The state Senate Democrats left the state. They fled to Illinois. And that extended it out because the governor cannot compel the highway patrol to collect somebody across state lines. And at the time, Rob Blagojevich wasn't going to extradite them back to Wisconsin.
Can I just underline something you just said? So the Republican Party in Wisconsin is pushing a bill that Democrats find very controversial.
Right.
And Democrats leave the state instead of voting.
Right.
They retreat, they flee the state, and they go to Illinois because they believe Illinois will not force them to go back to Wisconsin.
Right.
Explain the logic behind that just for a moment or so.
Well, this is after they had exhausted all procedural options. What they were trying to do was push this bill through. Nobody had seen it. The governor had announced it, and the Republican leadership had seen it and had talked about it at great length, but nobody had actually held it in their hands and read it. And they felt that that was against several Wisconsin state laws, and they felt justified in leaving after they've done all the procedural stalling that they can so that somebody could actually get their hands on this bill and take a look at it. And actually, there was a lot of, come back and do your job type thing. And
well, just to underline as well, and I apologize for interrupting, but what does leave, for anybody that might not be familiar, what does leaving do? Why does leaving make sense?
Great, thank you. So they couldn't form a quorum at that point. They had to have a certain amount of legislators in the chamber before they're able to do any kind of business. And in leaving the state, they basically forced them not to have a quorum at that point. It ended up being resolved by some wonderful Robert's Rules of Order procedure that changed the bill very slightly so that it didn't have direct impact on the budget, and that allowed them to vote with a majority present rather than having a quorum of all the elected bodies at the time. And this was actually a precedent set by Abraham Lincoln for when he was in the state legislature. He jumped out of a window in order to avoid the quorum. So we were just taking that play out of the Republicans' playbook.
Is that true?
Yes. Absolutely. He jumped out of a window in order to avoid war. Yeah. So after Wisconsin, I was there for 3 years, and I had this opportunity come up. And this is a chance for come home. I've been everywhere that you could do in this business, and I decided that it was time for me to come home and be closer to family. Both my wife's family in Kansas City and my family in South Central Missouri. So what we do here, or excuse me, why am I a Democrat? Was one of the questions you wanted me to address.
Yes, and if you could, because the camera is not, volume is not great, so if you could pick up the volume.
Sure, absolutely.
So future classes can hear.
Sure. So who knows the Garth Brooks song, We Shall Be Free? Raise your hands. Because this will play in. This will play in. I heard that song when I was about 5 years old. I have a very distinct memory of seeing that music video when I was about 5 years old. And unbeknownst to me at the time, that would inform the rest of my political life. Who remembers the opening lyrics to that song? Nobody? All right. So, when the last child cries for a crust of bread, when the last man dies for just words that he said, when there's shelter over the poorest head, you shall be free. Then it goes on, when the last thing we notice is the color of skin, the first thing we look for is the beauty within, when the skies and the ocean are clean again. On to the third verse. Free to love anyone we choose, in a world big enough for all different views, when we're free to worship for our own kind of pew. When money talks for the very last time, when nobody walks a step behind, when there's one race and that's mankind. I think that covers all of the basic tenets of why people are Democrats. Now, a lot of these issues come up for different people at different times in their lives. Some people may be environmentalists. That line's in there. People may be for marriage equality. That line's in there. For women's rights, that line's in there. So for me, that is why I'm a Democrat. All of those issues play a very important role in my life. So what can you do, or what do we do on the county level? We do play a little bit into presidential politics. Not so much. We are more of a supportive role at that point. What we really focus on is getting state, county, and school board and city council candidates elected. And you'll notice in the last run, we had almost a full slate of Democratic candidates. That was my goal coming into this job. 2 years tomorrow was my first day, so 2 years ago to tomorrow. Coming in, I wanted to have a full slate of candidates. Prior to this, prior to me coming here, the strategy was, we're just going to field candidates in high-performing districts and hope for the best. So you'd have 2, 3 districts that might have Democratic candidates in it. Last year we had 7 Democrats running for state house in our county. There are 8 legislative districts in our county. 7 of them are wholly contained within Greene County, and then the 8th is the whole eastern flank of the county that spills over into Webster County. What that did for us was people get stuck in ruts. When it comes to voting, you end up ticking the thing that you see the most often. And if you keep seeing nothing but an opposition to us all the time, you get into habits. And when we broke that habit, we saw that people were very excited about having a Democrat on the ballot. So that's something that we're going to be doing in the future. So not only state house races, but once we get into 2018, we're going to be looking at state senate races as well. And in Greene County, there are 2 state senate seats. The 20th Senate District, which is basically everything surrounding the city of Springfield and all of Christian County. And then the 30th Senate District, which is Springfield proper. Those are huge, huge swaths of area. So those are very hard races to run, but that's something that we're going to have to face in 2018, along with our 8 legislative districts, and also our state auditor will be up for election in 2018. So that's what we're focusing on right now. I know that there's a lot of people that are working on analyzing 2016, but that's already done. We can't affect that. We're focusing on 2018 and the things that we can address. So who lives in the city of Springfield now? When is your next election? April is your next election. There are city council seats that are up for re-election, and there are school board seats that are up for election. So if you don't know about those, find me or go and grab the news leader and take a look. There are some really awesome candidates that are running for re-election. You'll actually see Thomas Quinn again. He's running for city council this time. those are sticky for the Democratic Party because those races are nonpartisan. So we don't have our built-in candidates like we do for a state house race or a state senate race or a governor's race. And that is up to our central committee to endorse candidates and then work for those. Our central committee, if you don't know, is the governing body of the Democratic Party in Greene County. They are made up of a committee man and a committee woman from every ward and township in the county. So there are 122 seats that are elected positions within the Democratic Party in Greene County. So who all knows what ward or township they live in? Who here are registered voters? It is on your voter ID card, that card that Shane Scholler sends out. It is actually on your voter registration card what ward or township you live in. I highly suggest you take a look at that and then see who is the elected representative, both Republican and Democratic Party, in that area. Because if there's something that you want brought up or you want to see, or if you have an idea for a candidate or an idea for a policy issue, those are the people that you will directly contact because they're the ones that directly represent you. And how can you get involved? The biggest thing that we can do at this moment is to pay attention. Paying attention is 90% of the battle that we can do right now. And if you see something that you agree with, let your elected officials know. If you see something that you wildly disagree with, let your elected officials know. Because silence is often misconstrued as acceptance. And if you see something that your legislators are doing that you don't agree with and you don't say anything, they make the assumption that, oh, well, you know, people aren't writing me letters, they're not calling my office, they're not protesting out in front of my office, then they must be totally cool with it. That's something that we have to do. As an informed electorate, we have to pay attention to what happens in the courthouse here in the county, in Jefferson City, and in Washington, D.C. So what are some other ways, aside from making a phone call or holding a sign, that people can voice their opinions? What are some other ways?
Online.
What's that?
Online.
Absolutely, absolutely. State legislators are constantly using, elected officials are constantly using social media in a more rapid response now. So that's, you can actually text the president if you want to, because he's likely he'll answer. So that's something that we can definitely look at, social media. Anything else? I know this is kind of old-fashioned, but you can actually write letters to the editor and get them in a newspaper. There are a ton of people that still receive the newspaper both in hard copy and digitally. And those letters are wildly varying in their content. And the newsleader is very good about publishing a lot of them. So if you have an opinion and you want something to be said out loud, you could definitely write a letter to the editor.
And you don't think about it for folks of our generation or especially younger, that
Right.
there is a smoldering debate going on in the editorial page of the newsletter.
Absolutely. And that's predominantly going to be older folk that read the newspaper. I get newsletter alerts on my phone, and that's my exposure to the newsletter for the most part. So, social media, letters to the editor, phone calls, holding signs at events, anything else? Any other ways that you can get your legislators' attention? Go and talk to them. That's the biggest thing that legislators really like to hear is face-to-face contact. Their offices are public property. You're allowed to go there anytime you wish. Whether they're there or not is something that's different, but you can always go and attempt to try to talk to your legislators face-to-face. That's, Bob Certain with the county commission. That's Claire McCaskill. If you happen to be in DC and want to stop by her office, those are open to you to go and voice your opinions as well. So, do I have any questions?
Well, I got a couple for you before we open it up to the floor.
Yeah.
One thing that you said just now is you call your legislator. When I talk to local officials and people involved in local politics, the theme they keep coming back to is if you want to see change, you want to see responsiveness, call or directly contact a local official. Can you describe why that is effective?
Right.
In general?
So the calls are your loud, booming voice of reason. It's, again, if you don't say anything, they don't hear any opposition to what they're doing. So phone calls are a way that you can personify an opinion one way or the other. Their legislative staffs take careful notes. If you call Claire McCaskill's office, I guarantee you will not talk to Claire because she's very busy, she's rarely in the office. But her staff is always there, and they make detailed notes about the calls that they receive, and they actually have a morning or afternoon contact meeting with the legislator. And they will say, you know, we've got 14 calls against this bill, we received 12 against it, this is one that was super interesting, this is one we need to follow up on. So calls like that definitely have an impact if you get in front of a legislator, especially when there's mountains and mountains and mountains of mail that's being dropped in their office. Things can kind of get lost in the shuffle. You know, the staff will go through and they'll pick out the best ones that they can, but a call is something that you can have that's really, really impactful as well.
And I just, there are so many stories they tell about if you contact and call them enough, they'll respond to you personally or do whatever they can for you personally. It's really crazy if you make physical contact, especially with local officials.
Right, right. You will receive the most personal treatment on a local level. If you were to call somebody at the state legislature, like Crystal Quaid, for instance, who is the state rep in the 132nd, or Kevin Austin, who's the state rep in the 136th, which is the southeastern side of town, you'll actually most likely get a personalized response directly from that legislator, because your state legislators are the ones that have a great effect on your life. Yeah, Congress and Washington and the Senate have, you know, impact on our daily lives, but when it comes to filling in potholes or school funding, that's going to be your state and your local legislators. They're the ones that are going to have the most immediate impact on your everyday life.
Another thing we've learned in class somewhat recently about federalism, the idea, just to recap, the idea that there's a national government that handles national matters, state levels that handle state matters, and then local level government that handles local matters. I know you concern yourself primarily with local and state. Is there something you can tell us about, like, we had a Democratic governor very recently, we had a Democratic president very recently. How much interaction are you doing on a state level or even a federal level?
So a lot of that, it's a sticky situation, because on state level, especially like a governor or a statewide office holder, we have pretty decent contact. The Springfield area is very important because it's the third largest metropolitan area of the state. So we get a lot of attention just on that fact alone. So we do have a lot of contact with both the election side of it, which is our predominant purpose. Greene County Democrats, we have two legal reasons for existing. It's recruiting Democratic candidates and electing Democratic candidates. So our main focus is on electing. However, we can't be running campaigns all the time, so our focus often shifts to policy issues once we're out of an election cycle. And we have a lot of contact with our statewide office holders on those issues. And, sorry, what was you saying? Federal, presidential. Presidential campaigns are huge, massive machines. They have a lot of moving parts that are top-heavy, but when it comes down to us, we are the grassroots motivation of it. You know, they can have 1,000 staff members that work at their national office, but if they want a door knock, they have to come to us. If they want phone calls made to show up to an event that's happening at Big Mama's, they have to come to us. So when it comes to strategy and picking which states they play in, that's up there. That's up there at the top level. But when they actually want to get stuff done, that's when they come down to the local level, because we're the ones that have contact with folks more often.
And you focus primarily on candidates.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this last election we had like 5 constitutional amendments on the ballot and a proposition. Are you doing any work on those? Are you just focusing on candidates and not on specific issues on the ballot?
So there are a ton of nonpartisan, non-for-profit organizations that work on issues. What we tend to do is we do our focus on candidates. However, we will push people towards organizations that are doing, let's say, a ballot initiative on something. If somebody is interested in that, then I can definitely direct them to that. I don't have an army of volunteers at my beck and call willing to do what I want them to do. I have a large group of volunteers that say that they want to do something, and it is my job to facilitate that. So if you come to my office and you say you want to volunteer, I'm not going to say, get on the phones. I'm going to say, what kind of stuff are you comfortable with? And then I will work on finding you a project that you're interested in working on. If if you don't like talking to people,